Fleet Admiral Kara Chen stood at the observation deck of Titan Base, her eyes fixed on the massive holographic display showing Saturn's rings. The neural interface at her temple pulsed softly, feeding her real-time data from Earth's deep space network. The Drachnid fleet had just passed Neptune's orbit, exactly as predicted. "Status report," she commanded, her voice carrying across the command center where dozens of officers monitored their stations. 73 capital ships. Admiral, Lieutenant Maya Patel responded, her fingers dancing across the quantum interface. Energy signatures matched the Drachnid Empire's 7th extinction fleet. They're maintaining their standard assault formation. Kara allowed herself a small smile. For 3 centuries, humanity had hidden in plain sight, presenting themselves as a primitive civilization barely capable of reaching their own moon. All while they secretly expanded throughout the solar system, building bases in the shadows of planets and asteroids, developing technologies that would make their would-be conquerors tremble. The Drachnids never questioned why their long-range probes occasionally disappeared near Earth. They never wondered why their spy satellites failed to transmit after a few days of observation. Their arrogance had always been their greatest weakness. "Send word to Admiral Ramirez on Europa," Kara ordered. "Tell him to begin Phase 1 of Operation Curtain Fall." She turned to her second-in-command, Colonel David Zhang. "How are our guests doing?" David brought up another holographic window, showing the interior of what appeared to be a typical research station on Mars. In reality, it was an elaborate stage, complete with outdated equipment and carefully crafted evidence of a struggling colony. The Drachnid advance scouts had been watching it for weeks, completely unaware that the real Mars colonies lay deep underground, connected by a network of quantum tunnels. "Still observing our primitive attempts at terraforming," David replied with a smirk. "Their latest report to their fleet suggested we might be worth preserving as a labor force." Kara nodded, remembering her grandfather's stories about the first Drachnid scout ship they'd captured in 2157. Instead of announcing their victory, Earth's united governments had made a different choice. They would wait, learn, and prepare. For 3 generations, they had studied Drachnid technology, culture, and tactics while maintaining a carefully crafted facade of technological inferiority. A new alert flashed across her neural interface. The Drachnid fleet had begun broadcasting their standard conquest message across all frequencies. The same message they'd sent to 100 worlds before Earth. "Put it through," Kara ordered, though she could recite it from memory. The holographic display shifted, showing the imposing figure of Supreme Commander Vex Thor, his scaled face adorned with the bioluminescent markings of Drachnid nobility. "People of Earth," the translation software rendered his growling voice into smooth English, "your world has been chosen to join the glorious Drachnid Empire. Resistance is futile. Submit, and you will be granted the privilege of serving a superior civilization. Resist, and you will be." Kara cut the transmission with a gesture. "Send our response." Maya's fingers flew across her interface, initiating the message they'd prepared centuries ago. Across the solar system, hidden quantum transmitters activated simultaneously, broadcasting on frequencies the Drachnids thought impossible for primitive humans to access. Supreme Commander Vex Thor's next message came almost immediately, his bioluminescent markings flashing with rage. "You dare to reject our generous offer? Your pathetic species cannot hope to." "Supreme Commander," Kara interrupted, keeping her voice level, "I am Fleet Admiral Kara Chen of the Earth Defense Force. You are entering restricted space. This is your only warning. Reverse course immediately." The Drachnid commander's secondary eyes widened slightly, the first sign of uncertainty. Their intelligence had suggested Earth barely had a unified government, let alone a fleet admiral. "Your deception is noted." Vex Thor recovered quickly, but futile. "Our scans show your true level of technology. Your primitive weapons cannot harm our ships. Witness the fate of those who dared to resist the Empire." The transmission shifted to show recordings of other worlds burning, other species being enslaved. Kara had seen these before. They were part of standard Drachnid psychological warfare. "You have 1 hour to reconsider," she stated calmly. "After that, we will demonstrate exactly why humanity chose to hide its true nature for 3 centuries." She ended the transmission and turned to her crew. "Begin final preparations. Maya, alert all colonies to initiate lockdown protocols. David, signal the quantum defense grid to begin power-up sequence." Around Saturn's rings, invisible to Drachnid sensors, thousands of satellites began to awaken. Throughout the solar system, hidden bases emerged from their centuries-long slumber. On Earth, deep underground facilities hummed with power as quantum reactors spun up to full capacity. Kara touched the small pendant at her neck, a family heirloom containing a piece of metal from that first captured Drachnid ship. 3 generations of her family had worked toward this moment, along with countless others who had lived and died keeping humanity secret. They never asked themselves why a species would spend so much time creating stories about alien invasions, she mused aloud. They never wondered why we seemed so prepared for their arrival. The Drachnid fleet continued their advance, their sensors still showing nothing but a primitive civilization barely capable of spaceflight. In less than an hour, they would learn the true cost of their arrogance. And humanity would finally reveal why they had spent 3 centuries preparing for this exact moment. Dr. Samira Hassan moved through the quantum tunnels beneath the Martian surface, her footsteps echoing in the crystalline corridors. 300 years of human ingenuity surrounded her, walls grown from self-repairing nanomaterials, air recycled by artificial ecosystems, power generated by zero-point reactors that defied the Empire's understanding of physics. "Status of the observation posts?" she asked, entering the primary control center of Project Oracle. The vast chamber housed the most sophisticated prediction engine ever created, built from technology reverse-engineered from a dozen captured Drachnid vessels. "All posts report ready," Dr. James Morrison replied, his neural interface projecting data directly into the room's holographic field. "The Drachnids still haven't detected our quantum signatures. Their arrogance is actually impressive." Samira studied the real-time display of the solar system. The Drachnid fleet had passed Mars' orbit, their sensors still showing nothing but the carefully crafted illusion of a struggling colony. They hadn't noticed the quantum resonance scanners mapping every detail of their ships, hadn't realized that each communication they sent was being intercepted and analyzed. "Show me the prediction matrix," she ordered. The holographic display shifted, revealing intricate patterns of probability and causality. Project Oracle had spent decades analyzing Drachnid psychology, technology, and tactics. It could predict their responses with 99.9% accuracy. "The Supreme Commander will launch a demonstration strike in approximately 40 minutes, James reported. "They always target the same things: military installations, government centers, major population hubs. They never learn." Samira smiled grimly. Every target the Drachnids would choose was a carefully constructed fake. The real centers of human power lay elsewhere, hidden beneath mountains, oceans, and the surfaces of a dozen moons and asteroids. "Dr. Hassan," a young technician called out, "we're detecting power fluctuations in their shield matrices, exactly as predicted." Of course they were. The Drachnids hadn't significantly improved their shield technology in centuries. Why would they? No species had ever survived long enough to exploit its weaknesses. "Begin quantum field synchronization," Samira commanded. Throughout the solar system, hidden emitters powered up, each calibrated to a specific frequency that would turn the Drachnid shields against them. Her neural interface pinged with an incoming communication from Fleet Admiral Chen. "Dr. Hassan, is Project Oracle ready?" "Yes, Admiral. All systems are synchronized. The predictive matrix shows a 99.9% chance of success, though I must admit, part of me wishes they'd choose differently." "You sound like my grandfather," Kara replied. "He always hoped the Drachnids would prove to be more than conquerors." Samira touched the wall of the control center, feeling the subtle vibrations of machinery that had waited centuries for this moment. Humanity had chosen patience over pride, preparation over immediate gratification. They had built their defenses in secret, developed technologies that would seem like magic to their would-be conquerors. "We're detecting increased power signatures from their weapon systems," James announced. "They're preparing for their demonstration strike." On the main display, the Drachnid fleet moved into attack formation. Their sensors still showed Earth as a primitive world, its defenses limited to crude missiles and primitive energy weapons. They had no idea they were surrounded by a web of quantum technology far beyond their understanding. "All Oracle stations, prepare for full spectrum analysis," Samira ordered. "When they attack, I want every detail recorded. Future generations should know exactly why we chose to wait, why we spent 3 centuries preparing instead of revealing ourselves." The quantum tunnels hummed with power as humanity's hidden civilization prepared for its unveiling. In bases throughout the solar system, defensive systems powered up. On Earth, deep underground, quantum reactors reached full capacity. "Receiving transmission from the Drachnid fleet," James reported. "They're making their final demands." Samira nodded. "Let them. In 30 minutes, they'll learn why humans spent so much time imagining alien invasions. We weren't writing fiction. We were planning." The predictive matrix continued its calculations, showing the most likely paths of the coming conflict. But Samira already knew how it would end. The Drachnids would fire their weapons, expecting easy targets. Instead, they would find their energy beams redirected through quantum gates, their missiles guided back to their sources, their communications scrambled by technologies they couldn't comprehend. "Signal from Fleet Admiral Chen," James announced. "Operation Curtain Fall is entering its final phase." Samira straightened, watching as the fruits of 3 centuries of preparation began to unfold. The Drachnids thought they were about to demonstrate their power to a primitive species. Instead, they would become an object lesson in the dangers of underestimating humanity. "Begin final countdown," she ordered. "Let's show them why we waited so long to say hello." Captain Sarah Rodriguez watched from the bridge of the ED of Archimedes as the Drachnid fleet moved into firing position. Hidden in the quantum shadow of Phobos, her ship was invisible to their sensors. 3 centuries of technological development had led to this moment. "All quantum gates synchronized," her tactical officer reported. "Shield penetration algorithms loaded. Ready to initiate on your command." The Drachnids had positioned their ships for maximum psychological impact, their massive vessels casting shadows over Earth's major cities. Their sensors still showed only what humanity wanted them to see: outdated satellites, primitive defense systems, and a population in panic. "Signal from Fleet Admiral Chen," communications announced. "Operation Checkmate is go." Sarah nodded, her neural interface connecting her directly to the Archimedes quantum systems. Around the solar system, hundreds of other captains did the same, their ships emerging from quantum shadows where they had waited for generations. "They're powering up their main weapons," Tactical reported, "targeting what they think are our military installations." "Let them fire," Sarah commanded. "Let them see exactly what they're dealing with." The Drachnid fleet unleashed their first volley, energy beams powerful enough to vaporize cities lancing toward Earth. For a fraction of a second, they thought their victory was assured. Then humanity revealed its hand. Quantum gates opened microseconds before the beams would have struck, redirecting the energy through carefully calculated dimensional folds. The Drachnids watched in shock as their own weapons emerged behind their fleet, striking their secondary shield generators. "Phase 1 complete," Sarah announced. "Begin Phase 2. Throughout the solar system, hidden installations activated. The quantum web that humanity had spent centuries creating came alive, each node connecting to form a lattice of pure energy. The Drachnid fleet found themselves trapped in a network of intersecting fields, their every movement predicted and countered before they could execute it. "Their shields are adapting," Tactical warned, "just as the simulations predicted." Sarah smiled. "Initiate quantum resonance cascade." The Archimedes and its sister ships began broadcasting on frequencies the Drachnids had thought impossible to achieve. Each transmission carried codes that turned their own shield harmonics against them, creating feedback loops that their systems couldn't handle. Drachnid fleet showing power fluctuations across all systems, her science officer reported. Their quantum cores are destabilizing. On her neural display, Sarah watched as centuries of preparation paid off. The Drachnids had expected to find a primitive species, easy prey for their empire. Instead, they found themselves outmaneuvered by technology they couldn't comprehend. Signal from the Drachnid flagship, communications announced. They're demanding to know how we acquired this level of technology. No response necessary, Sarah replied. Let our actions speak for us. The quantum web tightened, each node executing its function with precise timing. Drachnid weapons systems failed as their targeting computers received conflicting data. Their engines struggled against quantum fields that turned their own momentum against them. Their communications dissolved into static as humanity's quantum algorithms rewrote their transmission protocols. Enemy fleet is dead in space, Tactical reported. All systems neutralized. No casualties on either side. Sarah stood, watching as the mighty Drachnid fleet hung powerless in Earth's orbit. 3 centuries of waiting, of hiding their true capabilities, had culminated in a victory so complete it bordered on humiliation. Signal from Fleet Admiral Chen. Communications announced. Beginning Phase 3. The quantum web shifted, creating corridors of stable space around each Drachnid vessel. They would be allowed to observe as humanity revealed its true face. The massive orbital habitats emerging from quantum shadows, the fleets of ships that made their own look primitive, the technological wonders they had developed while pretending to be savages. Prepare to receive diplomatic party, Sarah ordered. It's time to show them why we chose patience over pride. The Drachnids were about to learn that they hadn't discovered Earth. Earth had allowed them to find it. And now, after centuries of preparation, humanity would take its place among the stars not as conquered subjects, but as a power that had outmaneuvered an empire before firing a single shot. Dr. Elena Rossi stood in the quantum-shielded conference room of the Europa Diplomatic Center, watching as the Drachnid delegation was escorted in. Supreme Commander Vexthor's bioluminescent markings pulsed with barely contained rage and humiliation, while his advisor's scales had taken on the pale hue of profound shock. "Welcome to the real Earth," Elena said in perfect Drachnid standard, enjoying the way their secondary eyes widened at her command of their language. "I trust your accommodation in the quantum containment field has been comfortable." Vexthor's claws clicked against the crystalline table. "You deceived us," he growled. "Translation software unnecessary. For centuries, you hid your true nature." "Yes," Elena replied simply. "We learned from the best. Your empire has conquered 1,000 worlds by appearing suddenly, overwhelming primitive civilizations before they could prepare. We simply ensured we were ready when you arrived." The holoprojectors activated, showing the full extent of human civilization. Vast underground cities on Mars, quantum shipyards in the asteroid belt, research stations folded into pocket dimensions around Jupiter. Every achievement humanity had hidden for 3 centuries. "Impossible," one of Vexthor's scientists whispered. "Your quantum manipulation technology surpasses our theoretical limits. The power requirements alone." "Zero-point energy," Elena explained. "We perfected it 2 centuries ago, along with quantum field manipulation, dimensional folding, and a few hundred other technologies your empire considered impossible. We had time to experiment while maintaining our primitive facade." She gestured, and new holograms appeared, recordings from the recent confrontation. The Drachnid fleet, rendered powerless without a single shot fired. Their mighty weapons turned aside by quantum gates, their impenetrable shields undone by their own harmonics. "Why reveal yourselves now?" Vexthor demanded. "Why not continue hiding?" Elena's expression softened slightly. "Because it's time for change. Your empire's method of expansion, overwhelming the unprepared, forcing submission through superior firepower. It belongs to a past age. We're offering an alternative." She touched a control, and the conference room's walls became transparent, revealing the vast chambers of the Europa facility. Dracnid officers who had been invited to tour the base stood with human scientists, examining technology that merged their understanding with humanity's innovations. Your empire has stagnated, Elena continued. You haven't truly improved your technology in centuries because you never needed to. Every species you encountered was too primitive to challenge you. But imagine what we could achieve together. You expect us to believe you would share this technology. Vexthor's secondary heart rate increased, his markings fluctuating with disbelief. After centuries of deception, we expect you to understand your position, Elena replied calmly. Your fleet hangs powerless in our space. Your empire's greatest weapons prove useless against our defenses. We could destroy you all with a thought. She paused, letting that sink in. But we chose not to. Just as we chose to wait rather than strike when we first discovered your existence. We're offering you something your empire has never offered others. A chance to evolve. The quantum field hummed softly as Elena brought up new projections. Designs that merged Dracnid and human technology, proposals for joint research projects, plans for peaceful expansion that would benefit both civilizations. Your empire stands at a crossroads, Supreme Commander. You can return home in shame, trying to explain how a primitive world defeated your greatest fleet. Or you can return as the commander who opened a new chapter in your civilization's history. Vexthor studied the projections, his tactical mind clearly processing the implications. And if we refuse, if we choose to return with a larger fleet, Elena smiled, then you'll discover that what you saw today was merely a fraction of our capabilities. We spent 3 centuries preparing for every possibility. Supreme Commander, even now, you're seeing only what we choose to reveal. She let that sink in before continuing. But I don't believe it will come to that. You're a survivor, Supreme Commander. You understand when the rules of the game have changed. The question is, are you ready to learn new rules? 1 year after Earth's revelation, Admiral Kara Chen stood aboard the newly commissioned EDF Prometheus, watching through quantum-enhanced viewing ports as the joint human Dracnid research fleet prepared for its first mission. The massive ships represented a merger of 2 technological traditions, Dracnid durability combined with human innovation. Message from the Dracnid High Council, Maya announced from her station, now adorned with both Earth Defense Force and Dracnid Imperial insignias. The last holdout systems have accepted the new protocols. The Empire's transition is proceeding ahead of schedule. Kara nodded, remembering the chaos that had followed their revelation. The Dracnid Empire had nearly torn itself apart when news spread of their defeat. But Supreme Commander Vexthor, now High Ambassador Vexthor, had proven surprisingly adaptable. His testimony about Earth's capabilities, combined with careful demonstrations of human technology, had convinced even the most hardline imperial factions that evolution was preferable to extinction. Dr. Hassan's latest report, David said, forwarding a quantum-encrypted file to her neural interface. Project Oracle's predictions for the next decade are fascinating. The data flowed through her mind, projections of technological advancement, cultural integration, and the transformation of known space. The revelation of Earth's true nature had sent shockwaves through the galaxy. Other species under Dracnid rule had begun requesting human advisors, eager to learn from the civilization that had outmaneuvered an empire. Status of the quantum defense grid, she asked, though she already knew the answer. Some habits died hard. Fully operational, David replied, though the latest upgrades have made it nearly unrecognizable. The Dracnid engineers really do have a gift for structural enhancement. That had been perhaps the most surprising outcome, the enthusiasm with which many Dracnid scientists and engineers had embraced collaboration with humans. Once freed from the Empire's stagnant protocols, their natural innovation had flourished. Admiral, Maya called out, incoming transmission from the Centauri expedition. They've made contact with the local species. Kara smiled. Another test of their new approach. Instead of conquest fleets, they now sent joint contact missions, offering advancement through cooperation rather than submission through force. "Put them through," she ordered. The holographic display showed a human Drachnid diplomatic team meeting with representatives of a pre-spaceflight civilization. The aliens' expression of shock at seeing the former conquerors working alongside humans was becoming a familiar sight. "They're requesting admission to the exchange program," Maya reported. Of course they were. The program, allowing civilizations to advance at their own pace while providing guidance and protection, had become the cornerstone of their new galactic policy, a stark contrast to the Empire's former methods. "Approved," Kara said. "Have Dr. Rossi's team begin cultural integration protocols." She turned back to the viewport, watching as the research fleet's quantum drives spun up. They were about to attempt the first controlled dimensional fold on this scale, a joint project that would have been impossible a year ago. "Message from Ambassador Vexthor," David announced. "He says you were right." "About what?" "About patience being more powerful than pride." Kara touched the pendant at her neck, thinking of all the generations that had maintained humanity's secret. They had chosen a harder path, spending centuries in hiding while developing their technology. But that choice had allowed them to emerge not as conquerors or victims, but as architects of a new galactic order. "Begin launch sequence," she ordered. The quantum drives hummed as the fleet prepared to make history again, this time through cooperation instead of confrontation. As the ships entered dimensional fold, Kara reflected on how far they'd come. Humanity had revealed itself not through force, but through preparation and restraint. They had defeated an empire without destroying it, transformed a conqueror into a partner, and changed the course of galactic history. The stars blurred as the quantum fold engaged, carrying them toward new discoveries. But now they traveled not in secret, not in fear of discovery, but as part of something greater. They had spent 3 centuries preparing for war, only to become architects of peace. "New course laid in," Maya announced. "The galaxy awaits." Kara smiled. They had done more than outsmart an empire. They had shown the galaxy a better way forward. And this was just the beginning. The Prometheus led the fleet into fold space, carrying the combined knowledge and aspirations of 2 civilizations that had learned the greatest victory comes not from overwhelming force, but from the wisdom to know when to wait, when to reveal, and when to extend a hand in friendship. The age of conquest was over. The age of cooperation had begun. And humanity, after 3 centuries of preparation, was ready to help guide the way.